I spent years being photographed, but almost no time being seen. My name is Maya Delgado. I am 28 years old, born in Seville, raised between narrow sunlit streets, and the sound of my mother's voice calling me in for dinner. Today, I live a very different life than the one I chased for more than a decade. I am a Muslim woman, and I am an advocate for modest fashion. If you had met me in my early 20s, you would never have believed this could be my life. Honestly, I would not have believed it either. My world back then was runways, makeup chairs, bright lights, and the constant pressure to stay relevant. Now, my world is quieter, slower, more grounded, but the journey from there to here, it was anything but simple. I grew up in a small apartment with my parents and my younger sister. My mom worked long hours in a bakery, and I can still smell the flour on her clothes when she hugged me. My dad was a painter, the kind who believed art was not about talent but about surrender. He used to say, Maya, the canvas tells the truth, even when you don't want it to. Maybe that is why I loved mirrors as a child. They were the opposite of his paintings. They never revealed the truth. They only showed what you wanted to see. In school, I was the quiet girl, tall, skinny, always a little unsure of her place. People told me I had the look, whatever that meant. By 16, I was scouted by a local agency. My parents were hesitant, but for a family with financial struggles, the opportunity felt almost miraculous. So I stepped into the world of fashion before I even fully understood who I was. Let me be honest. The beginning felt magical. Free clothes, beautiful locations, professional makeup artists making me feel flawless, agencies telling me I had potential, photographers saying I had presence. It was intoxicating, but magic becomes machinery when you live inside it. I learned quickly that beauty in the fashion world is not something you possess. It is something rented, borrowed, sculpted, and sold. I was told how to smile, how to walk, how to stand, how much to weigh. Every day became a negotiation between my body and other people's expectations. Look, when an industry starts measuring your worth in centimeters, something inside you begins to break. I remember days when I would stare at myself in the mirror and feel like my reflection belonged to everyone except me. Agents checked my weight weekly. Makeup artists told me what needed to be fixed. Designers pulled fabric across my body and sighed if it did not fall perfectly. And slowly, gradually, painfully, I detached from myself. I did not choose my clothes. I did not choose my makeup. I did not choose my image. And after a while, I stopped choosing my thoughts too. I became whatever people needed me to be. The emptiness caught up to me during a campaign in Paris. The photo shoot was beautiful, dramatic lighting, silk dresses, gold accessories. Everything looked perfect. But I remember standing there, surrounded by cameras, feeling completely hollow. Who was I when the makeup came off? Who was I when the lens turned away? Why did I feel lonelier in a crowded studio than I ever did alone? The applause after runway shows started to sound like echoes in an empty room. My turning point did not come as an explosion. It arrived as a whisper. I was in Istanbul for a show. Between rehearsals, I wandered through a quiet street near the Blue Mosque. I was tired, mentally and physically drained, just walking without intention. I saw a group of women in modest clothing, their laughter soft, their posture grounded in a way I could not explain. One of them looked at me and smiled, not the smile I was used to, not the kind that evaluates, judges, compares. It was warm, sincere, almost reassuring. It sparked something. Later that evening, back in my hotel room, I looked up a documentary about Islam, then another and another. I listened to Muslims talking about God as one, without partners, without confusion. I learned about modesty, not as restriction, but as dignity, as freedom from being consumed by the gaze of others. It was the first time I wondered if beauty could be something quiet, internal, anchored. Weeks passed and I kept searching, watching lectures, reading articles, listening to recitations of the Quran. I did not understand the Arabic, but the sound felt like truth being poured gently into an empty cup. This was the moment where everything inside me began to shift. I was not running away from the fashion world. I was running towards something deeper. My search for Islam felt like uncovering a memory I never knew I had. I read the Quran in Spanish, and the clarity of it stunned me. There was no confusion about who God is, no contradictions, no intermediaries. I found a mosque in Madrid and visited quietly, sitting in the back, just observing. There were no flashing lights, no cameras, no makeup chairs, just people bowing down before their creator, all equal, all humble. For years, I had been told that my worth depended on how I looked. And here was a faith that said, your worth is your heart, your intention, your sincerity. I cried the first time I read the verse that says God knows what is in the breasts. It was like someone finally understood the things I hid even from myself. My shahada came one afternoon after talking with a Muslim woman at the masjid. She listened to me without judgment. She answered my question patiently. And at one point she said, Maya, it sounds like your heart already believes. And she was right. I whispered the Shahada with tears running down my face, feeling like the life I had been carrying, the stress, the pressure, the constant search for approval, finally loosened its grip on me. It felt like breathing after years of holding my breath. Becoming Muslim did not erase my old life. It transformed my relationship with it. I stepped back from certain kinds of modeling. I started dressing more modestly, not because someone forced me, but because it finally felt like choosing myself. For the first time, the mirror wasn't my enemy. It was simply a tool, not a judge. My agency didn't understand at first. There were awkward conversations, confused glances, contracts that no longer fit who I was, but I stayed firm. I knew what I wanted now: dignity over exposure, purpose over approval. I found my way into modest fashion. Designers, photographers, brands who valued beauty rooted in principles, not pressure. I started using my voice to talk about healthy body image, self-respect, internal beauty. I spoke to young women who felt trapped in the same pressures I once lived under. My family struggled at first, especially with the changes in my appearance and lifestyle. But slowly, as they saw my peace, their questions softened. They realized Islam did not take me away from them. It gave me back to myself. Life after Islam is not perfect. I am still learning, still growing, still healing. But I am no longer trying to perform beauty. I am trying to live truth. If you are listening to this and feel torn between who the world wants you to be and who your soul is begging you to become, pause. Just pause. Ask yourself who benefits from your exhaustion. Ask yourself why beauty feels like a battle. Ask yourself what you are afraid of losing and what you might gain by letting go. Look, modesty is not about hiding. It is about revealing the right things, the things that matter: your mind, your heart, your character. Islam gave me a way to honor myself instead of marketing myself. If you feel drawn to this path, Explore it quietly. Learn at your own pace. Sit in a masjid. Open a translation of the Quran. Let the truth introduce itself gently. And if you ever decide to walk toward God, even a single step, trust me, He will meet you with more mercy than you can imagine. I spent years in front of cameras chasing the perfect image. Now I live behind the lens of faith, where beauty is defined not by eyes, but by sincerity. And for the first time in my life, I feel truly seen.